Yo guys, what's good? Welcome back on Young Sharma channel. Transfer news. That's something that we don't get to talk about too often with Inter, and it's not even summer. The transfer window isn't even open, but there's been a rumor last couple of days has been heating up, and it's been impossible to ignore because it's getting more and more concrete. And that is, of course, the rumors of Luis Henrique, the Brazilian winger slash wingback from Marseille, 23-year-old. And we're going to talk about him today. So before we get into that, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But yeah, 23-year-old. I don't know too much about him, so I have done a little bit of research on him today, but this is not a scout report video. I know some of you guys already messaged me saying, Sharma, you need to cook up a scout report video already. Let's wait for that. You know, I need more time for that, but definitely if things continue going the way that they are, which they sound like it, we might have to do one soon. But just quick general thoughts from a quick, deep dive into the guy from his transfer marked 23-year-old from Brazil, 1 meter 81. Agency Rock Nation Sports, if you know, that is their agency of Federico Di Marco. So there is a bit of a in-house potential, influence in there. He's currently rated 18 million euros by Transfermarkt. And if we look at the rumors, which have been heating up over the last couple of days, if you've missed them, here they are, mainly coming from Sky Sport Italia and Di Marzio. I haven't seen too many other outlets reporting this, but this is one of the best outlets in terms of reliability, source level. Inter value, Luis Henrique around 22 to 25 million, while Marseille asked for 30 to 35 million. And there have been continuous contacts between clubs, and Inter is expected to make an offer on personal terms soon before defining an agreement with Marseille. I mean, those are, advanced stage type of talks already. And Inter Extra, you can see there the translation again on the right. Inter is advancing for Luis Henrique, who would like to finalize the deal by May to have the player for the Club World Cup in June. So similar vibes to the Sucic deal, trying to get it wrapped up, ready for him to be available for Inzaghi in May for the Club World Cup. So this sounds pretty concrete. And what makes it concrete and, no BS to these rumors, because of course this can happen as well, is the fact that yesterday at the stadium, at the Meazza, Mehdi Benatia was there. If you follow Serie A over the past decade, you'll know Benatia, former Juve, former Roma, former Udinese centre-back, former Bayern Munich centre-back, who was at the stadium watching Inter. But, he hasn't got a horse in the race. Unlike Vincent Kompany, the Bayern Munich manager on the right there, he obviously came to watch Inter, to scout Inter before we play them in the Champions League, or maybe check out some of our players, hopefully not. And hopefully Benatia isn't looking at our players either, unless he wants Frattesi or someone like that. But there is last couple of years, there is a bit of a connection with Marseille. We Alexis Sanchez, I know that's not directly, but Alexis Sanchez, free transfer, went to Marseille, then he came back. We loaned them Correa. So there is, a bit of a link starting up between the two clubs. So I mean, the fact that Benatia, their sporting director, Marseille sporting director, was there yesterday, that confirms a few things. So that is why we need to talk about him today. As I said, I didn't really know too much about him, so quickly looked up kind of his, of course, videos, clips. Someone posted a pretty good compilation on Twitter, Intercoms. Make sure you guys go check it out. I'll leave the link down below. You can see that what type of player he is. Good on the ball, can dribble. I wouldn't say he's like, a dribble maniac, like a joga bonito type of Brazilian, but looks pretty solid technically, pretty good physically, likes to get forward, likes to attack, needs to improve his defensive side of things. But the most interesting thing about him is that he is a converted winger. So yeah, even here it still calls him a left winger, because that is the position that he's played mostly in his career, coming up in youth football, or his career. Botafogo is where he made his start to his career. 90 appearances there, 8 goals, 9 assists. not much of a, yeah, you can't say he really stands out too much for final product there, but he was playing primarily as a left winger. When Marseille signed him, he also primarily has played as a left winger, but this season is where the changes come in with the Zerbi, the coach, of course, the Italian coach. So you can see he has 10 games played as a left winger, and that was the start of the season. You can see starting off the season as a left winger. He's even played one game as an attacking midfielder, but he converted into a right midfielder here, it says, but in reality, more like a right wing back. As you can see, Marseille's latest game, the formation of 3-4-2-1, and Luis Henrique is playing as a right wing back. So a converted wing back, we've seen that happen a lot these days. And a lot of the time, a converted wing back is usually either you weren't good enough as a winger, or that's usually it these days, isn't it? You weren't good enough as a winger, so they need to take you back as a wing back because your final product and your finishing or your assisting wasn't quite good enough to be so up front. So is that the reason why he was converted or not? I'm not sure about that. Needs to do some more investigations about that. Probably more to do with the formation change of the Zerbi, who is always known to play 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. So I'm surprised that he has changed. I was watching Marseille at the beginning of the season, and Luis Henrique didn't really impress me too much as an out-and-out winger the few games I watched. But as a wing back, he definitely has the characteristics. I mean, in terms of build, he's 1 meter 81. So he's like, shorter than Dumfries, but, taller than DiMarco and Carlos Augusto, I think, or he's kind of around the same about as Carlos Augusto. In terms of pace, he's definitely quicker than DiMarco and Darmian, but probably not as quick. He didn't strike me as quick as Dumfries, but he has very powerful legs. So the comparison that I actually, when I was watching Luis Henrique earlier today and yesterday, his size, his broad kind of physique, he's a bit shorter, more tree trunk type of legs, very stumpy legs. Reminds me a bit of Reece James, Chelsea's right back, who has that type of build. He's almost like a rugby player build, Reece James, so he's even more bulkier. But in terms of the build and the style of play, the player that he reminds me of is actually Reece James, which is quite good. Aside from, of course, I tweeted that out and everyone was commenting underneath like, oh, does that mean he plays 5 games a season? Oh, he's got no knees then. But no, more in the fact that he's very comfortable on the ball. He likes to pass. He's very, he's able to take the ball in very tricky situations and try to dribble his way out of trouble or pass his way out of trouble. So I guess why do Inter want him? I think we can see we know that on the right, I mean, we saw yesterday, Matteo Darmian, 35, 36 years old. Always big respect for Matteo Darmian, always old, trusty, reliable, but those old, trusty, reliable legs starting to be more old than trusty and reliable. We saw yesterday. I'm not, saying that he's dusted or anything, but Inter have to, of course, look to the future. A 23-year-old who's recently converted into a wing back, and also in terms of characteristics that we need in the team. We know comments underneath my video all the time, and on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere. Everyone knows Inter need pace. We need more dribbling. So this is definitely kind of like a hybrid of a Dumfries type of right wing back, but also having a bit more still good physicality. We saw when we signed Buchanan, he was much more of a, in theory, in terms of his statistics and attributes, dribbling, pace, playing on the left, on the right, which I think also here, Luis Henrique, I think he's also been looked at primarily for the right wing back position, but that's what we said when we signed Buchanan, and he ended up playing left wing back most of the time. A couple of questions arise in terms of how quickly Inter are looking to wrap this up. So what does this mean for Zalewski? Because Zalewski has been, the few appearances that he's had for Inter has been on the left-hand side. Of course, we have an option to buy with Zalewski, which is quite cheap. I think it's only around 6 million euros, if I remember correctly. If they're looking to already sign and seal and deliver this player for Inzaghi, does that mean they're already not looking to sign Zalewski on a permanent? Or is this irregardless of Zalewski, because this is the right wing back? This is the few questions that come up straight away. Is this maybe the way to put Carlos Augusto permanently as a left centre back. So those are some of the questions that arise. But definitely the players that have been linked to Inter recently, if you've seen in the media, Luis Henrique, obviously, but also Dan Ndoye, the Bologna winger of the last year or so, more than a year, we've been linked with him. He still is a winger, although for Switzerland, sometimes he has played as a wing back. And also recently, there was a weird link to Lazio's Isaacsen, their winger, definitely not a wing back, but it shows that to replace Buchanan, or if they're not going to take the option on Zalewski, they are looking for these characteristics of a wing back, but that is also a winger, to finally try to replace Ivan Perisic's characteristics in this team. And yeah, you can see in terms of quick look at Luis Enrique's stats, where he stands out. Of course, this season he has a very impressive, how many goals does he have? Yeah, 9 goals, 7 assists. That is without any penalties. Very, very impressive. Of course, half of those contributions came, you can see, when he was a left winger, 4 goals, 4 assists. So we got to keep that into account, that he's also, half of those contributions came when he was as an attacker. That's still decent. When Correa went out there, that 1 year at Marseille, he put up 0 goals, 0 assists. And then when he did move as a wing back, he's still putting up numbers, 5 goals and 3 assists. So that does point to, what we talked about, those characteristics that Inter are looking for, maybe to be more pungent in the attack. You can see he ranks very highly on shot creating action, goals, assists, carries into penalty area, successful take-ons, so the dribbling part, key passes, shots on target, very good in the air as well, doesn't lose many areas, as I said. Physically, looks quite strong. Definitely more of a build towards a wing back, fullback than a winger. But of course, Inzaghi will have to do a lot of work on him defensively and tactically. But it's good that he's been under the Zerbi already for a year. Overall, my thoughts, I did prefer, if you guys follow me on social, I haven't talked about it too much. I've mentioned it here and there on the channel, but I wouldn't expect you guys to know this. But I prefer, or my preferred right wing back target for the last year or so has been Van der Sar from Monaco, another Ligue 1 guy. But actually, he's more of a actual fullback, a proper fullback who could probably even slot in as a right centre back and be more similar to Dumfries in terms of quite a solid right wing back rather than a very attacking one. So this one actually makes, now that I've kind of thought about it, looked into him, it does make sense that Inter want to have something a bit more offensive in the team. We've all been crying out for it. The value that Marseille are putting on him of 30 to 35 million, that's a little bit too high. My ceiling would definitely be 25 million maximum, maximum, because there is work to do on him physically, tactically, defensively, and everything. And of course, we've seen with Buchanan, with Inzaghi's system, it's not easy to just slot in. But I'm interested. I do want to find out more about the player, see some more games of him, see some more of his strengths and weaknesses. But I like it. So let's see what happens if Inter land him. Again, you guys let me know your thoughts down below. What does this mean for Zalewski? What do you guys think? Because I'm a really bit unsure about that situation. So comment down below that, your thoughts on him. Who does he remind you of? Do you like him, or what you've seen of him? And you want Inter to sign him, or do you want someone else? Let me know in the comments below, maybe some alternatives. And we'll keep an eye on this and keep an eye on the channel. See you in the next one. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter.